The iconic Sydney Harbour Bridge is a major artery for Sydney, connecting the North Shore to the CBD, carrying rail, vehicular and pedestrian traffic. If the bridge closes down due to protests or whatever, it causes major traffic and public transport disruptions across the city. It forces drivers to find alternative routes or endure massive delays. Obviously, this is where the tension lies. The protesters' message gets a huge platform, but it comes at the cost of inconveniencing tens of thousands of commuters. So this leads me onto the topic of this video. Should the Harbour Bridge be used as a protest ground? For those of you who are impatient, the short answer is no. No, it shouldn't. I would argue it's a very selfish act to block such a major thoroughfare. Whatever benefit you get by having your protest is well and truly outweighed by the chaos it causes. You could still have your protest in a public park or whatever. Although some might say, but you have to make a statement. A park rally just won't get the same media attention. BS, I say. The media would still come and your message would still be beamed around the world. But by having it on the bridge, you're just causing unnecessary turmoil and disruption to your fellow citizens for essentially no benefit. Of course, historically, there have been lots of different marches across the bridge. In the year 2000, an estimated 250,000 people walked across the bridge in support for the reconciliation movement between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians. I'm sure those demonstrators were well-intentioned, but unfortunately, in those 25 years, little has improved for Aboriginal Australians. Incarceration rates have nearly doubled, with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander prisoners making up around 36% of the total prison population, despite only making up about 3.8% of the total Australian population, a gross overrepresentation. One must wonder whether this march had any effect whatsoever, apart from blocking traffic. In 2023, there was the Sydney World Pride March. I don't think it was so much of a protest, rather than a blatant celebration of LGBT pride, with lots of rainbow flags and so on. I don't know what this march achieved, but it certainly succeeded in disrupting traffic. And yes, that is Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and Foreign Minister Penny Wong participating in the march. And of course, most recently, the pro-Palestine March for Humanity, which occurred just this month. I'm not sure what an Australian bridge has to do with Palestine, but they certainly succeeded in blocking traffic. Sydney Lord Mayor Clover Moore was there, alongside former Premier of New South Wales Bob Carr, and a surprise appearance by WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, as well as a spattering of other politicians and or celebrities. This leads me to believe that the real benefit of these protests is not awareness, but the personal satisfaction of causing maximum disruption. Let's face it, many of these protesters don't hold much respect for this country we call Australia. For example, in Melbourne recently, some protesters happily burnt Australian flags and painted graffiti declaring, "Abolish Australia." Anyway, the point is, the Sydney Harbour Bridge is a critical transport corridor, with around 250,000 people crossing it daily. Its purpose is just that, a bridge. To say that it now has to be used as a regular protest ground so that a few smug people can feel like they've done something is an insult to the thousands of people who are just trying to get on with their lives. It's a vital piece of infrastructure for everyone, and turning it into a protest ground for a select few proves just how little respect they have for the society that built it.